Good evening, friends. This side Rahul Magan here is a Group Chief Executive Officer, Treasury Consulting, and also a venture capitalist. While today, when I was reading newspaper in the evening, I generally read newspaper in the evening. In this today's newspaper, we were having a heading of PMC Bank. And you know that Reserve Bank of India barred PMC Bank for doing business for the next 6 months, while at the same time they have said that the withdrawal limit is 1000 rupees and there are multiple conditions pertaining to that. So while reading this, basically I would say, while reading this news, I reminded of a Bollywood movie. I don't know how many of you watched that kind of Bollywood movie. So I reminded of a Bollywood movie, and that movie is, there is a gangster in a society. He is literally powerful, but all of a sudden, and police cannot do anything. So, because they need to show something to the public that they are up to something, so they caught one, I would say a chain snatcher, and they put him to the third degree. Just for chain snatching, they put him to the third degree, and in lockup, they put him to the third degree to the level in the lockup that he died. And then police make some fake case of shooting and prove that he was trying to basically run away from the police station without any due approval, and we need to shoot him. Job over. The whole media, paid, incompetent and sold, is focusing on PMC Bank. While the real, and who is this PMC Bank? He is actually a chain snatcher. While who is the real culprit? Yes Bank. But is media capable enough to have a link of Yes Bank with PMC Bank? No. And at the same point of time, if you read the articles which publish in the media, in the today's newspaper, we're going to have an elaborate discussion on that. You will never get a feeling that anywhere these banks, these articles or this media raised an issue on the auditing system of these cooperative banks. Well, every bank is subject to an audit. It depends upon your size. Like Treasury Consulting is not an Apple, that we know. So our audit, our scrutiny would not be like an Apple. While Apple is a pretty big company, so their scrutiny and their everything would be like as per their size. So as Facebook, Google and all. So PMC, first of all, I'm not saying that the PMC had not done anything wrong, because we go step by step. So we took today's newspaper. You can see that it is today's newspaper. And in this today's newspaper, we got this, which is that the Reserve Bank of India put severe curbs on Punjab and Maharashtra cooperative banks on Tuesday, including on cash withdrawals amid a probe into accounting lapses, sparking speculation that regulator force a management change through a merger. Well, tell me one thing, he is saying that on the accounting lapses. What about Yes Bank? Why did Rana Kapoor ask to go from the board? Why did Reserve Bank of India had not took the entire, just like Enforcement Directorate is examining, or I would say the counter examining the politicians or any person without entering into politics, that about the money laundering cases? Why didn't that happen to Rana Kapoor? Why Rana Kapoor allowed to sell 2.3% of a stake of a company and fetch a very handsome amount of money? Why did Yes Bank remain silent even till now about what Rana Kapoor intend to do? Is RBI is not getting a sense that there are red flags in that? Red flags are only in the PMC Bank and the cooperative banks. There are no red flags in ICICI Bank, no red flags in Axis Bank, no red flag in Yes Bank, but all red flags are in the PMC Bank. Well, I have not read completely. Cash withdrawals were capped at 1000 rupee per account for 6 months. Boss, think about, it's a bank of 11,000 crores, 11,000 crore worth deposit, and you are keeping a cash limit at 1000 rupee per account for the next 6 months, what was the fault of the people? What is the fault of the people that are? Do you want them to stand in a queue almost every day? Don't they have any other work? What about the daily wagers? In most of the cooperative banks, the predominantly deposits are done by the daily wagers or by politicians, because politicians cannot invest money in a nationalized bank as it will come under accounting scanner. So politicians invest heavily money in the cooperative societies and the cooperative banks. During demonetization, without quoting the name of any politician or any political party, a lot of time the name came of few politicians that they invested a substantial amount of money in the cooperative banks, and in few cases it was found that these cooperative banks changed thousands of crores of notes, basically old notes, to the new notes in a span of few days, while the general public was outside, literally outside the bank to get the notes changed. For them, the bank was always having an excuse that we don't have the money provided by the RBI, so we cannot change. Now the question is, I am 200% sure, like another cooperative bank, this cooperative bank would surely have an extendable amount of money by the politicians and another, without quoting the name of anyone, because I do not know who invested. But what is the fault of the normal investor, normal depositor? You want him to stand in a queue, and more importantly, there is, the second. Now this is the main. The regulator is currently looking into the books of the bank. They added, while the gross bad loans according to financial year 2019 were 3.67% of the advances. Bank has now disclosed that the figure is much higher. One of the two people said. The second person said RBI is doing an audit of the PMC bank, is looking into alleged irregularity. When maybe I don't know, you remember or not, when ILFS scandal happened and all these scandals happened, the questions were raised on the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India that what they did. When the Bank of Baroda scandal happens, Nirav Modi scandal and all, questions were raised on the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and the accounting practices. However, having said that, at the same time, government cannot shy away from their responsibility and regulators cannot shy away from their responsibility. Now the moral of the story is, this: we are in a bank. Basically, we are in a I would say we are talking about a bank who hold 137 branches, number one, over 1800 employees, over 11,000 crores worth deposit, and approximately 8,400 crores of loans they sanction. So I repeat, over 137 branches, while over 1800 employees and approximately 11,600, it's an approx figure, basically 11,600 worth crores of deposit, and almost 88,400 crore of the loan book. Now the moral of the story is that at that level, if the accounting fraud or accounting mismanagement can happen and that get reported to RBI, and now RBI is asking the customers not to deposit, to withdraw more than 1,000 rupees, for not to withdraw for the next 6 months, and having said that, they are not taking a single point of action on the Yes Bank. This clearly reminds me at least of the Bollywood movie, which is pretty simple about the Bollywood movie, that the gangster is pretty capable, while the police needs to I would say to show something that they are up to something, they will caught a chain snatcher and they just punished him whatever they can do. This is what the moral of the story, and this is what it is happening. This media will never tell you about, never raise question on the accounting practices, never raise question about the auditors, never raised question about the auditing practices. Well, today I was reading an article just to link with that, and in this article, basically an article was having, not an article, in fact you can say that article come a discussion with my friend. So during this discussion, he's a lawyer actually. He said, Rahul, once you turn out to be LLB, basically a law degree, you will get a lot of knowledge about the law, various sections, acts of the law, but not a single lawyer or only handsome lawyers, handful of lawyers are able to work in technological companies like Paytm, like Swiggy, basically Paytm, Amazon and all. The reason is that these lawyers are not capable, or they were not taught about how the law work in our technological framework, in our technological framework basically, and because this is not being taught. If you take the same connotation here, then the accounting practices and I'm not talking about GRC, governance, risk and compliance. If you talk in the same respect, then the auditing practices of the Reserve Bank of India is pretty obsolete, because all these incidents happen on a very often note now in India. I think not a single day in a newspaper you get to know he frauded and what not. I have a lot of information to give you that who frauded and who not frauded, but the moral of the story is that we are living in a world, especially in a country when the accounting practices are almost flawed, when auditing practices laid down by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, which is of 18th century, while the people, those who are passing as a chartered accountant, they have a little understanding of the how technological world is changing, and more importantly, the regulator is just doing whatever they can do to justify their jobs. The real culprits are free, roaming, doing nothing is happening to them, while the small culprits, they are asked not to do business for the next 6 months. And I don't know what is the fault of the depositors. They asked to stand a queue outside a bank to take 1,000 rupees from amongst a lakh of rupees he invested in a bank. This is our law, this is our regulator, this is how we work, and this is how we want it to work. With this, we thank you very much. You know my mobile number 9899242978. You know our fixed income platform www.fixedincome.global. Have a great time.